What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and today we've got another episode of Guts and Glory. We're going to break into this Ganzo FH-921. This was a special request from J.E. Here you go, brother. We're going to get on in to the 921. Now, I've got my tools out here. I've got my oil out here. And we're going to see how easy this thing comes apart. I've not had it apart. Typically, I don't like taking Ganzo knives apart because they use two-side pivots, and I don't care for that. But I think that this has got a captured pivot on it, so we will check that out. I got my combat beads and J-Wotaz knives driver out here. I've got my small little Weehaw micro driver out here in case we need to go at it from two sides at once. We'll move this stuff out of the way, and again, this is what I use to lubricate all my knives. That's break free. This stuff is like $7 a tube, and a tube lasts me for like 2 years, guys. I don't use any of that fancy Nancy oil that's out there. So let's take a look at this thing. I believe that one of the pocket clip screws is going to have to come out, but I don't think the inside one is going to. I think just the back side one. I don't know. It just depends. Are we're going to take this thing apart from the front or the back? Let's get a T8 on this thing. Okay, back side is not coming loose on the pivot. Front side is coming loose on the pivot. So we will take this thing apart from the back. We may not have to take the pocket clip off at all, but I'm pretty sure this screw is going to have to come out. I'll take that off, and I don't know if that plate's going to fall out. The filler plate, I don't know if it's going to fall out on its own. And please forgive oh yeah, definitely different screws there, guys. Definitely different screws. So you will want to keep that straight. So that means that back, if the lefties out there have their pocket clip set up for left-hand carry, that back screw will definitely have to come out. You want to keep that long screw in the correct place. Alright, we got the pivot out there. Let's take this G10 out, and this thing is full of oil. Now, when I did my review, I said this thing did not come dry. It did not come dry, guys. I didn't think it had that much oil in it, but it did not come dry. So let's look at the inside of this scale. Totally flat. There is nothing machined on it, since it is not a pocketed liner on this. And boy, that's got a bunch of oil on it, guys. That's a bunch of oil. It is all up in there. That oil is all up in there. Let's get that cleaned off real good, and take a look at this liner, this show side liner. That is your show side liner right there. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, that is as clean as anything that anybody is doing on any of these budget knives. I've had Civivi knives apart. I've had Bestech knives apart. And nobody's doing anything better than that. Let's see here. We're going to grab this set of bearings. Let's get this set of bearings right here. It's single row steel bearings in a sort of whitish clear polymer race there. And we will clean those out just as everything else. And we'll put fresh oil on all of this stuff. So that's what we got right here, guys. Come on, focus. That's what you got right there, bearing wise. You can see the bearings are pocketed to the blade and not to the liners. There is no recess on the liners themselves. Let's get down in there. We're going to Take a good look at all of this goodness right here. Got oil all over my fingers, guys. So let's take a look at what we got here. Big old detent hole. Now this thing's got a super duper detent on it. They no doubt as to the efficacy of the detent on this. This is a pretty clean machine in here, and I better watch that edge because this thing, 14 thousandths behind the edge thickness. And man, this thing is machine. This is a $25 knife, guys. Yeah, Ganzo did a good job on this. You know, I don't owe them anything. They've never given me anything. The stop pin is not captured, but we're going to pull this set of bearings off here. And dadgummit, this thing has got so much oil in it, I might as well just take the back side apart too, so I can get the oil out from the liner. Set those bearings apart there. Okay, there is that question answered right there. That is damn sure a D shape, a captured pivot. So, no questions there. That is going to go in from the back side, and that back side liner is going to be notched for that. Let's go ahead and no, we still got the T8 in there. What are you doing, Baz on Blades? Haven't you ever done this before? Well, this is my first time, guys. I'm fumbling around like a virgin. Like a virgin. Touch for the very first time. Oh my God, I missed my calling, guys. I should have been a singer. I could have been Madonna. I could have been Madonna. Except for the whole, you know, not being sexy and not being able to sing. And, anyway, let's take this all apart here. I did not plan on having to do this, and we don't want this to be a 4-hour video. It's just so I can sing Madonna songs to you. Yeah, that's got a ton of oil in it. So, let's take this back side. We're going to clean it up. Get all this excess Earl out of here, as we like to call it here in East Tennessee. I got enough Earl in there. I could have fried some taters in that Earl. I don't think that's tater frying Earl, though. Alright, let's get up here. We're going to take a look at this big old detent ball here. That's a pretty sizable detent ball. And it does add to the action of this. You can tell the way the reflection, the light reflecting is messing with the autofocus on the camera. They have done a very good job finishing these parts out, guys. It's hands down, it's the best made Ganzo that I've seen so far. I've had a ton of these knives apart. I have had a ton of these knives apart in the past. This is, guys, I don't have the micrometers out here and the calipers and my flat gauges, but this appears to be just as well made as anything else on the market. And again, we're talking $25 on this, $25. So let's get this back in here. Well, this thing has got oil all in it. Now, typically these come pretty dry, but this thing, like I say, there's enough Earl in there to fry some taters. All right, where's my stop pin? There we go. All right, that's my insert there. And for you guys that watched my review of this knife, this is the insert that I was talking about. The type of insert that's used up here on the blade to hold these polymer thumb studs in. And that's a way a company saves money. They reuse those parts in other ways. You don't have to design, manufacture, machine any new parts to get something like that done. So let's turn that around and try to put it in there actually the right way where it fits. And those are shouldered, which is good because everything on this is so doggone polished that everything's sliding around, guys. It's all sliding around. I don't even know if I'll be able to hold that on there. So let's see here as far as our screws go on the back side again. All right, so it's looking like, okay, so we do have dedicated screws for the pocket clip. Ah, come on. All right, there goes our pocket clip. Let's get this short screw started here, and that should keep that liner from sliding around. All right, got that. Let's bring that longer screw for that back screw on the pocket clip. Get that started in. And then the other longer screw. So the longer screws are going to be your body screws, and then that short screw is going to be for that pocket clip, I believe, unless I've just totally missed out on something here. Good gracious, stupid ass little screws. There we go, guys. There we go. That liner being polished is so slick. It is incredibly slick, guys. All right. That, my friends, was just as awkward as it looked. We're going to tighten down all of this mess right here. All right, back side is back together. We will bring up our come on. There we go. Got that back in. Let's take our stop pin and put back in here, guys. This is about the most awkward guts and glory that I've had to do. These liners being fully polished like that, I mean, they are just as slick as they can be. So let's bring in our Earl. Now, this thing does not need the amount of oil that it had on it. For a bearing pivot knife, what I typically do is I'm going to go with a drop of oil on either side of that set of bearings, 180 degrees out for those 2 drops of oil. And then I'm going to put 1 drop of oil on the detent ball. And we're going to go right back in here with the blades. Then we're going to come right back in here with that set of bearings right there. And then we will go back in here. 1 drop of oil here, 1 drop of oil there. When you put oil on bearings, the oil is just there for hydraulic action for the bearings. They're roller bearings. They're ball bearings, not roller bearings, but ball bearings. And you don't need a ton of oil on them. So we're going to put this, good Lord, that stuff is just as slick. It is just as slick as it can be, guys. All right, we got the pivot in there. We've got the stop pin. We've got these shouldered locators, whatever those parts are called for those body screws. I don't know what the hell they're called. I'm not a damn technician. I'm just a hillbilly from East Tennessee that likes knives. And we're going to get all of this lined up here. Get it all lined up here. And we're going to go in with this here body screw. And we'll get it in there. Alright, so we got that in there. We're going to throw our front side of the pivot screw in there. And I've not had any issue with this pivot wanting to walk on me. So I'm not going to worry with any Loctite on it. I'm not going to worry with any Loctite on the body screws. But what I will do is pay very close attention, mostly on these T6 screws. I will pay attention to the pocket clip screws. The pocket clip takes the most action as far as the small T6 stuff goes. And they have the best chance of loosening up. But I'm able to put a good amount of pressure on those T6 screws. They feel pretty doggone good to me. No issues there. They're well socketed. They seem to be okay. Now I'm not like a lot of YouTube knife reviewers. I cannot tell you the quality of a screw just by touching it, which apparently a lot of these guys can do because they comment on it in their reviews. Typically the way I tell the quality of a small screw like this is if it strips out, I'm like, well, that's a piece of shit. And if it doesn't strip out, it's okay. And these have not stripped out. Now you see I'm going back and forth and I'm incrementally tightening on these screws. And if you look at my hands when I'm doing that, it looks like I'm putting a lot of force on that. But really, majority of that force that you see in my hand is actually me sort of holding off on the force. I'm holding against myself. And I'm just incrementally tightening these down, snugging them down. With small hardware, that is the only way to treat small hardware. Oh, dadgummit, look at that. I have not even come back and done anything with that pivot. I have not even come back and done anything to that pivot. In fact, it's not even tight and that thing is back to center. We will get that oil distributed around. It's already, guys, it feels fabulous. It feels fabulous. The action has not changed. The centering has not changed. The lockup has not changed. This is hands down the most impressive knife that I have seen from Ganzo. I have been reviewing Ganzo products as an option within the budget arena for a few years now, probably close to 3 years. I don't know how many Ganzo knives that I have. There's absolutely no play in that at all. Perfect centering. Oh man, guys, that is awesome. That is awesome. And you cannot fail this knife. Let's see if I can fail this knife. I'm just going to incrementally put force against the flipper until it breaks that detent loose. Nope. There's no way. If you cannot fail a knife, a flipper like that in the blade up position, then you are not going to fail it. So, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Remember that you've got a longer screw back here for this back screw on the pocket clip and on this plate, because it's got to go through the thickness of all of that jazz and go through this into that female, whatever that receiver, that threaded receiver that they use when they use the two sides. I don't know what that part is called. Somebody tell me what that part's called so I don't sound like an idiot. Ganzo Firebird FH-921. If I got out of camera frame at all, guys, this is the first video that I've done with my new camera mount. It is in a totally different place, a totally different type of mount. I don't have to, I can move around here, and I can actually look at the knife. I'm not looking at the camera, having to look through the camera because it's in my way. Dadgummit, that thing came back together so good. I'm going to go through here one more time. Check all these screws. Again, T6 hardware, guys. If you are not tightening your T6 hardware like this, you are doing yourself a disservice, and you will strip that hardware. Even good T6 hardware is easily strippable. It is so small. You've got such a small contact patch as far as your tooling in the socketing of the screw, the hardware, and that's where all the trouble comes from. It's amazing. It is amazing what you can get for $25. I hear a little, listen to this. I hear that's the oil has not moved all the way around that bearing yet. But that's the only thing that I'm noticing. And you know what? Yeah. Yeah, and I do not have that pivot. I don't have that pivot set up loose, guys. That's not set up loose at all. I mean, I tightened that thing down. And the great thing about it was, as you saw, we didn't have to tighten it down to get it to go back to center. And what that tells you, and tells me, when a knife is returned to center easily, it means the components that in the sandwich build of this knife are flat. I could take these liners and these scales and I could lay them on a flat plate, and they should be pretty much perfectly flat. And the reason I can say that is we didn't have to use clamp pressure to bring it to center. If you get an inexpensive knife and you have a hard time bringing it to center, it can be a few different things, but what I typically find in budget knives, cheap knives that do not want to center, is the liners or the frame, they are not flat. And it doesn't take but a 1,000th, a 2,000ths and not even any amount that you can readily see, because you have to remember, if this frame is bent, this blade is sort of like a lever in that it is clamped on one end. Across the length of that blade, it will augment anything that is out of flatness. So any bend that you can barely see may cause that blade to be 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters out of center by the time you get to the other end. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say, I honestly, there are manufacturers that are selling a knife in the same type of materials, some of which have the same quality levels, some of them don't, as this knife, and they are selling for 2.5 times more. This knife is as well made. You looked at the blade, the way it was machined. You saw the liners, the way they were stamped and then finished, polished out. You didn't see any excessive machining issues, dirty machining. You didn't see any issues from dull stamping procedures. And I'm going to tell you, I've got 10 years of steel stamping experience. When I looked at those liners, those are as clean as anything that anybody is doing. They were extremely clean stampings. Extremely clean, guys. And I honestly, I don't understand, or I don't know, or I can't conceive of a way that Ganzo is going to push any further on product quality at this price point. That is incredible. I don't have to exaggerate. This is incredible quality for $25 compared to any other manufacturer that is doing a D2 G10 liner lock bearing pivot knife out there. And I've had them all apart, guys. I've had the Civivis apart. I've had the Best Techs apart. I've had the steel wheels apart. I've had, I don't even know what all of these knives I've had apart, guys. It's damn well made. It is damn well made. So, JE, there you go. There is your guts and glory disassembly, reassembly of the Ganzo Firebird FH-921. I think that will go to show beyond what my original review did that this is a pretty serious offering from Ganzo Firebird and well worth the $25.99 that it costs to get it. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.